Now, if I could swivel around in my chair and have my hands, my fingers touch like so, I'm showing the YouTube, my evil, maniacal, finger, Mr. Burns
Mr.
style.
Burns. It's a Mr. Burns.
My
yes.
Mr. Burns hand movement here. And I could also have a large, evil-looking Siamese Persian cat, actually.
Persian cat.
Sitting on my lap, and I would stroke it every now and then. Quite evilly, I might add. I would do so right now because I would be portraying none other than Skeletor himself, Rick Scott. I mean, I guess Lex Luthor better portrays what you should call Rick Scott now, because he truly is a comic book supervillain right now. If he wasn't already, this has brought him to that point. This is in the Sun-Times. Florida Governor Rick Scott has admitted to lying about why he suddenly supported Obamacare after his mother's death in 2013. The Republican had been a staunch adversary of the health care bill and had vowed not to expand Medicaid, which is a system that helps poor people pay for health care, to nearly 1.2 million Floridians up until his mother passed away. Oh, so I guess, like a lot of Republicans, something has to happen to them first before they show any empathy to those who are experiencing or have already experienced the same thing. Right. We've seen this with Republicans who have now come out for a gay marriage after finding out that, whoa, my son is gay and wants to get married. Guess I got to change my opinion on this. And a slew of other issues. And it seems like this happened to Rick Scott too. Up until recently. Scott pulled a complete 180 and said that he would support Obamacare's Medicaid expansion after his mother died. He said this as long as the federal government was picking up the tab, which it will do in full until 2019. In 2013, Rick Scott said on television that he could not, in good conscience, prevent Medicare expansion. His mother's death really changed him. He must have really loved his mother. He must have respected that woman, so much that he's willing to change his views, his opinions, his policy based on something that happened to his mother. However, per the Associated Press, Scott conceded this week, that was the week of May 8th, that this was all a ruse. A ruse. Just like an evil villain would say. It was all a ruse. He now says his support for Medicaid expansion was a calculated move designed to win support from the Obama administration for the state's proposal to hand over control of Medicaid to private insurance companies. At the time, he denied that his support was tied to a deal with the federal government. Scott's involved with a lawsuit against the federal government that seeks to prevent the expansion of Medicaid in Florida as mandated by the Affordable Care Act. And again, he only conceded up to this week that his speech all the way in 2013 was simply a ploy with a motive. This is a governor of one of our 50 states talking about the health of 1.2 million Floridians whose lives literally hang in the balance. His mother was what he used as his reasoning, his awakening for changing his opinion to deny those 1.2 million people of that basic right of health care so they can live and survive. And he comes out now and says it was all a ruse.
It was a ruse.
You fools! You thought I actually loved my mother? The joke's on you!
Mommy dearest, just so you know, I'm going to be using your death to deceive the federal government about giving poor people healthcare. It's a fabulous ruse.
Just amazing, really.
So I can give a handout to my buddies in the private insurance industry, which I already have a criminal background in. Whoa.
And by the way, this is the week of Mother's Day. What a perfect time to come out and admit it's all a ruse. That's how much I love you, Mummy.
Oh my God! No, he was under criminal suspicion. He was never convicted of anything, if I recall. But he was actually under suspicion of like massive Medicare fraud, and was in part of legal depositions. And then I mean that level of overt sociopathy. And of course, over 1 million people, because this guy is mind-blowingly sociopathic.
Talk about a guy with issues. Yeah. My God. I mean, that's how the origin stories of supervillains usually begin. I mean, really.
Well, how did it begin for Rick Scott? Do you have the story?
I mean, it's got to begin with his mother somewhere, I assume.
Was it like, Ricky, you didn't make the football team again. You'll never amount to anything.
I'll show you, Mother.
I'll show you, Mother, and I'll show all the poor people that I see.
What is it? I mean, he's literally the guy from Psycho. I could totally picture this guy pretending his mother's still living up in the attic, and it's really him dressing up as her.
Whoa.
Unbelievable.
Governor Bates, Governor Norman.
Governor Norman Bates, yes.
Governor Norm.